right, friends, hello and welcome back to another podcast, live streaming podcast of the Travi Wavi with your host, Travis Eason. I'm your Sharp G, your local Renaissance man and artist extraordinaire, and today we are coming to you live from the beautiful, historic downtown Abilene here on Pine Street at Majestic Coffee and the Neon Parrot Live Studios. Behind the cameras, I've got the amazing producer extraordinaire, Sam Wolf, and to my right, I have today's special guest, Dr. Travis Craver. Yeah. Pleasure to have you on, sir.
Thank you.
City Councilman, Place 6.
Yes, sir.
And father.
Yep.
Husband.
Yes.
Executive producer of the Mentoring Alliance.
Yes.
Hardin-Simmons graduate. Baylor graduate.
Okay, you've done the homework.
I got on the internet and read.
I love.
But I've known you since you were a youth pastor at Pioneer Drive.
Yeah, a long time ago. Loved that season of my life. Got to work with students, even when I was a kid myself. But it was a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so your kids now are 11 and 9.
So I have a son, Linus. He's at Austin Elementary. He's 9, and then my daughter Leia's 11 at Mann Middle School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doing the Mann Middle School stuff.
Doing the Mann Middle School.
Middle school's tough.
It is.
It is tough, but it's only a couple years. So.
Couple of years. Mann does an amazing job. Shout out to AISD, Chad Drake and his team. But, you know, being a preteen is a challenge, so we're in it. Yeah,
it is. But you and your lovely wife are surviving.
We are surviving, and we're on our way to thriving.
I love it. So how long have you been a city councilman now for this wonderful hamlet of ours?
Almost 5 years. So it's been a journey. It's been fun. It's been hard, but it's been rewarding at the same time.
So it doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but I do remember when you ran.
Yeah.
So how did your political ambitions start? What was sort of the onus for that for you?
You know, for me, it started well before I had run. It started actually when I was in college, and I had the opportunity. A lot of people I don't think know this. I had the opportunity to be mentored by some different people. Stan Lambert had an opportunity to meet with him throughout the years and just see godly man who exuded that space well. I got to meet with Anthony Williams through the years, learned a lot from him as well. And just, you know, a lot of people who came before me that I really appreciated. Gary, our mayor, was another one who was really influential in my life. And all of them shared their journeys, which made me feel confident to know that I could have the opportunity to be in that space and thrive. Yeah.
And it's been 5 years. Do you feel like you've made a significant impact? Is there more work to be done?
Man, that's a great question. I would say, and Gary McCaleb, who mentored me for a long time, shared this with me. He was sharing that the pace of it is so fast but so slow at the same time. I would say I'm not as much caught up in the achievements as much as I am caught up in the drive and the desire to continuously keep moving forward. And I think we're doing some really exciting things. You've been in Abilene a long time. You remember what downtown looked like. I remember what it looked like when I was in college. That to me is exciting because it is nice to look up and see what it is now currently, but what's more exciting is to know that we are continually doing more and more and to not stop.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So do you have political ambitions going forward? Will you serve another term?
Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoying my role. It took me a couple of years to really get the rhythm of the role, to get a working knowledge of the role. And so far, it's been a blessing. You know, people often come to us and they're asking certain things, and you meet people in high intense space. So they're sometimes very emotional, sometimes overly critical, but at the end of the day, you understand that they're just people who want to be heard. And me understanding ultimately the desire of the role for me is to serve. That's what I'm doing. That's what I want to continue to do. And just as long as it's a blessing for us as a family and my wife gives me permission, we're going to keep doing it.
Right on, right on. So what are some things that are, we talked a little bit briefly beforehand this morning, that there are some big challenges and changes coming up for the administrative staff in Abilene. What are we talked about Robert Hanna.
Yeah, Robert Hanna is retiring in March. has served our city faithfully for 10 plus years, has been in the industry for over 25 years, highly intelligent man.
He came here from Denton? Is that
Yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah. Man, guys, give it up for Travis. He does his homework. I love it. Yes, but Robert is highly intelligent, highly competent in his role, but also is a friend. And so he will severely be missed, but he hopefully will continue to just stay involved. I know that he and his family are very much stewards of Abilene and really are for Abilene. So I look forward to just working alongside him in different capacities in the future.
So he's planning on staying in town.
Yes.
For now. That's great. Thank you,
Yes.
Robert, for sticking around.
Right.
And then the city's hired a firm to
Yes.
try to find a new city manager.
Yeah.
So something, I don't know if a lot of people know this about Abilene, but we have and maybe you can speak to this
Sure.
because you understand it better than I do. But the way our city administration is organized, we have a city manager
Right.
that is kind of the boss.
100%.
The mayor and the councilmen are more in supportive community
Yeah,
liaison
yeah.
roles.
I think ultimately our role is to oversee the city manager, but the beauty of the way Abilene is set up is there's no person in any city council seat that has more power than the other. Obviously, our mayor, Weldon, is the deciding vote if we're landlocked. But I love it because at the end of the day, we're for the entire city of Abilene. It's not just the south side seat. It's not just the north side seat. It is for the entire city. And so I really enjoy the way that Abilene's set up because it really makes us be responsible for the entire city and not just the similar districts we may live in. Yeah. But Hannah does an amazing job because he understands our desires, our initiatives, our vision. And what he and his team do a really beautiful job of is melding it together and making sure every decision that we make is in alignment with the mission and the vision that we as a collective really want for the city.
Which is important.
Yes.
Because otherwise we can jump on an ego or a personality and
Yes.
steer the ship in some random direction. Yeah.
Really.
Okay, so what are some other things you're looking forward to seeing come down the pike from your vantage point?
Yeah, I would say from the city standpoint, I think one of the exciting things for me is just continuing to build on the economic development. I always get excited when there's new businesses that are coming into the city. I always get excited to see local people wanting to open businesses here in the city. Shout out to the Wolves. So thank you guys for that. But anything that is reinvesting back into the city, I'm all about. And we have a lot of potentials on the way that are going to be really exciting opportunities for businesses to thrive here in the city, and continuing with the economic development piece of our residential areas where people, regardless of their income levels, will have equitable housing options. Really building on that, and not just building new, but also taking care of the existing is highly important to us. And
There is a program happening that I've heard bits and pieces of where there's some support from the city to purchase properties that need
that rehabilitation,
remodeling, whatever. And there's some money available for that, some perks, like I want to say like a roll-off or something, a dumpster.
Up to $50,000 can be matched, and it incentivizes people to continue to reinvest in those communities.
And I've seen that progress take place in my own neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
On North Park, there's a home right on Anson that recently had the whole, redone, ground up, plumbing, roofing, I mean everything, windows. And then the property next door, they built another home. So sort of the same style as like the Habitat homes, but
absolutely
very nice homes.
Very nice, very nice. Gives dignity and beautifies the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
At the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you've been in Abilene. You came here what year for Hardin Simmons to play football?
2001.
2001. Same year I moved here.
Yeah.
So we've been here the same time.
Yes.
Great. And you played a little football.
Yeah.
And you studied Bible studies.
Yeah, I did. So I was at Hardin Simmons. Loved my time. A lot of people that don't know this, I actually went to Hardin Simmons to do law. My whole undergrad interned for a criminal defense attorney here in town, Lynn Inglesby. Got into law school. A week before law school, decided that wasn't the plan for me. And luckily, my parents were really supportive, and so just took a step back and wanted to really just be in a season of prayer, but also a season of just figuring out what is it that I want to do. And during that time, that's when I started working with kids, because I had a passion for mentoring and discipling, and still do. And so that opened up the door for ministry, which in turn set me down a path of working in the churches and then going subsequently to Baylor for my PhD postdoc work, and then to Hardin Simmons, and now for Mentoring Alliance.
And let's talk about Mentoring Alliance. So you're the executive director of that, and how long have you been in that role?
Yeah, I've been there for almost 2 years now.
Okay.
And the predominant reason for Mentoring Alliance to exist in our community is we serve after school care in the schools and AISD. We do one-to-one mentoring, and we do summer camps with students. And we predominantly work with at-risk youth.
Okay.
The goal is to help them grow in their emotional resiliency. So dealing with those big emotions, but doing it responsibly, helping with a vibrant faith. So any of the families that we serve, they opt in knowing that their kids are going to hear Bible stories. They're going to be taught some opportunities to know who they are in Christ. And then lastly, the academic success. We partner with AISD. Their teachers get to come in and teach curriculum, whether it's math or reading. And we, in turn, work with a firm that eliminates a lot of that learning loss that occurs in these students. And so our model has proven to help students test much higher when those STAR tests come around, because there's less learning loss as a result.
And we were just discussing, with the holidays coming up and the end of the year, it really is giving season.
Yeah.
And Mentoring Alliance is one of those.
Yeah, come on.
One of those organizations.
Come on,
we could
Trav.
all write a
Yes.
check to.
Come on.
So if you're listening and
I
you
love
want to
it.
give a little
Thank you.
donation,
Yeah.
reach out to Dr. Craver.
Absolutely.
Here at Mentoring Alliance.
Absolutely.
They could use your love.
It's online. Look at. Thank you for that shout out,
we
brother.
gotta do it,
That's
dude.
come on.
We got to do it.
We'd love to continue to take in donations and serve the families here. And it's at-risk youth, but a lot of it's just dual income working parents who need help and wraparound support. And so that's been the beauty of it. And we're excited about us continuing to expand our reach. Yeah.
Well, and you know, just a little bit of a change of subject here, but thinking just economically where we are all at this time, at this time of year, and you know, grocery prices are tough, and it's just a tough time to feel like your head's above water as a parent. Bills are due, Christmas is coming, all this, but I want to say places like Mentoring Alliance,
That's good.
Leah, Andrea, I'm sorry, but the Youth Voice, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
There's
it is.
And there's so many other programs that I don't have a list in front of me in Abilene where we have resources. So if you are listening, you've got children, you're struggling in any way, shape, or form, there are so many resources in our community here for you.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit it on the head. Youth Voice, you know, Women's Alliance, Boys and Girls Club, Day Nursery, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And I say all that to say there's room for all of us, and there's needed room for everybody. And I think the beauty of that is you get people who have a passion for it. I am particularly drawn to Mentoring Alliance because of the faith component, because I think that's highly important. But there's so many incredible nonprofit agencies in our community doing great work. So 100% agreed.
So if you are in a position where you can give a little bit this year, just reach out, open your pocketbooks, and support some of these wonderful organizations.
Thank you.
What else do you want to talk about? I have some things I want to talk about, but what's on your mind?
Oh, man. You know, I would love to know. You do a lot of things, and I think the beauty of the word that you described at the beginning of the podcast was Renaissance. So I would love to know, out of all of the different things that you've done, I know that there are some that really resonate more than others. What has been some of the more exciting ventures that you can recall that has been the most life-giving to you?
So I was thinking about this a little bit after my podcast last week with Carrie Varner, which was just great. We spent so much time together telling stories, and he brought it up too. I think, you know, being a part of the young audience group when we did that, and just going to the different elementary schools in Abilene, around Abilene. I mean, we would travel as far as Snyder or Sweetwater sometimes. But just, you know, making that group of 100 to 300 kids a day and giving them something to think about, some imagination games to go home and play with their siblings or their parents. That's something that, I wish I could quantify that and like look at it, that, oh, look at how cool that was. That really does bring me a lot of joy. Yeah. I think it's great to be a part of a community where I feel the freedom to be able to try, fail, create. Gotcha. It doesn't feel as scary.
Yeah, I love that.
And these podcasts have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's the new thing, so it's probably still the shiny thing.
I'm loving it.
But it's really fun.
It's awesome. It's exciting. Thank you.
What do you see for Abilene in the next year, 5 years, 10 years? Do you have a vision?
That's a great question. I see, selfishly, a lot more economic development happening, a lot more. And what I mean by economic development is a lot more opportunities and less red tape for people who have dreams to create, like yourself, to have the freedom to create and to not feel stifled because they feel like that creativity won't be rewarded or there's not a lot of avenues for them to create. And so I would love to see a continuation of the economic development piece. I would also love to continue to see the great boom in businesses who recognize the beauty of Abilene. Misty Mayo, shout out to the DCOA. They've been really, really proactive in bringing a ton of businesses into the city who recognize the beauty and the collaborative spirit of Abilene. And that in turn just rewards the city. It continues to feed back into our tax dollars to reward us. It also continues to feed back into the school systems, which only helps our schools as well. And it continues to feed back into housing market and investment into the local community, which only will help us in turn. And so just continuing to see more people willing who have the freedom to dream, to do, and to accomplish. I see a lot of that on the horizon. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So one of the many goals of this podcast for me is to try to get at what the heart of Abilene is. I mean, Lynn Barnett has stamped us as the storybook capital of America, and I'm really trying to get behind that more and more and push that vision. What do you think defines Abilene? What makes us special?
Man, it's funny. When I was young, I heard a million things that people would describe Abilene as. As I've grown older, one thing that has stood out to me through the years is Abilene is highly collaborative. And when I say collaborative, I mean Abilene truly has a genuine desire to see the other and to really, really lean in and press in and figure out ways that we can support one another and help the whole win. And I appreciate that it's not as siloed as a lot of other cities. I appreciate that people have a genuine desire to let people win, because if you're winning, I feel like I'm winning. It brings more awareness to Abilene. It brings more buy-in to Abilene. And I appreciate the collaborative spirit that I have noticed in all the areas in Abilene. So grateful for that.
I would agree with that. I mean, one way that I've talked about the various periods of growth, specifically in downtown, as you mentioned earlier, is like riding a wave, like surfing. Yeah. Or the whole idea that, high tide floats all boats.
100%.
But I've definitely seen a couple of waves over the last 10 years in downtown. And again, I feel like we're on another, like it's time to surf again.
Yeah.
Sam and I were talking about that with the context of this podcast, realizing that we are one of a dozen or more podcasts that have just started up in Abilene all over town. And I think it's so incredible and wonderful. Yeah. So on the collaboration end of that, if any of you out there that are producing podcasts want to come down on a Thursday morning and have some coffee and we can chit chat and we can lift each other up, we're all about it. We 100%. Really, I think that whatever we're doing from an entrepreneur standpoint or a creative standpoint, whatever we can do to collaborate How can we help each other? How
Yep.
can we extend the conversation? How can we extend grace for one another and what we're doing? Economically, it's a tough time to get stuff off the ground.
It is. But I'm excited because what I see is not just people willing to enter into a space, but I see people who are excited to bring more awareness to the really cool things happening in our city. And so kudos to people like you who are courageous enough to do it. Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. 100%.
So you said you're taking a little bit of a break around
Yep.
Christmas. You guys going out of town?
We are. We usually go out of town for a little bit. Try to remind our kids, try to remind ourselves that, it's important to decompress, to take some time and just appreciate each other without the appearance of anything bought, but just to understand there's value in just being appreciative of time together, time spent, time experienced. And so really excited about that. But more importantly, just reconnecting, having conversations about life, having conversations about hopes and dreams and desires, and seeing what are the things that we can do to support one another. Yeah.
I like it.
I'm excited about it. Yeah.
What are you doing for hobbies or creative time?
That's a man. I'm not the most interesting person in the
Come
room.
on.
So for me, I really love listening to podcasts. I'm a huge podcast junkie. I love to read. I read a ton. But I also am enjoying this season where my son is just really into fishing. So we've been doing a ton of fishing together. We've been doing a lot of shooting. He's
Nice.
into guns. And
Nice.
so we're getting a lot of time at some different places outside of town that people have been generous to let us shoot at. And honestly, just spending some time in nature has been really, really beneficial for me in the mind and the spirit. So, yeah.
Being outside is a balm.
Yes, it is.
It's everything.
It
So where
is.
do you guys go fishing?
Man, we go everywhere. We have some places here, Fort Phantom and all of those things, but I have a couple of buddies who have some little ponds that they stock of fish, which is awesome, and we love that. But once a year, we try to go to Colorado. My son is really, really into being knowledgeable about all types of fish, but he is big into fly fishing right now.
Very cool.
So we only can do it once a year because it's not cheap, but we get to go there with a guide for half a day, and then the other half of the day we just sit, talk, connect, experience life. Yeah.
I feel like fly fishing is one of those spiritual quests that
Yeah.
unless you've really done it, it's hard to describe what it's like to stand in running water,
Yeah.
cast that line. It doesn't even matter if you catch anything.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
Exactly.
I've only been lucky enough to fly fish once, and it was in the Kenai River in Alaska, and it was
Okay.
about the most incredible 6 hours of my entire life.
Wow. That's
Just
awesome.
bliss.
Well, it's funny. I'm a very task-oriented person, and I'm like, okay, I want to catch a fish. I want to catch a fish. My son will sit in that water for hours and be just as content. And it really, honestly, it's humbling because it's teaching me, what does it look like to be fully present in the present? And so I agree with you. It's very therapeutic, but also at the same time, it's been a lesson I've learned in learning how to be still, which hasn't always been a gift of mine. And so just being appreciative of the lessons that even kids can teach us.
Would you say as you're growing more wise and mature in your life, because I feel like this is true for me, so I'm just kind of seeing if this is true for you, that as we kind of gain better control of our internal emotional selves and we can process thinking better, that it does, I don't know, I feel like I have more time to uncover who I am at my core, because I'm not trying to react to
Yeah.
the world as much
That's
anymore, or my
good.
internal.
That's good. I love that. I never thought of it that way. I will tell you, one thing that I've been willing to do is examine a lot more as I've aged and grown. And I think I'm seeing time similar to what you're sharing, but I'm also seeing it as an opportunity to be changed. I love, one of the things I really love to do is study language. And, us in America, the Westerners, we think of time as chronological. So it's time past. And In the Greek, it's kyrios, which is biblically tied to, and that's time changed. And how does time change you? How are you able to be changed because of time? I think is something that has been a real intentional space for me recently. And so, yeah, I'm learning a lot about it. But I will say, you have to be willing, as you described beautifully, like you just have to be willing to put in the work to even be able to recognize it. When I was younger, I was so busy doing, I wasn't really putting in the work. And I think as I've aged, I've been more willing to put in the work.
Well, and before we started talking, you mentioned how you've been digging more into Stoicism. And one of the things I like about the Stoics is this idea of now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, something that I've been fortunate enough to do is have a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
I've made time to think. I protect my peace because, and not just thinking for thinking's sake, but to be really present in the now. And what is that saying to me?
That's good. That's good. I will tell you, it has been a gift to be able to read a lot of that, because the now wasn't always something I was aware of, because I was always doing and trying to be. The beauty of the now is when you're fully aware and you're fully present, you're fully capable of receiving the blessing from it. And so in the now, being here with you, I think it's just a joy because we've known each other for a long time. I have long admired the way that you view life, and in many ways admired your courageous nature to live life. I've not always felt like I've given myself permission to do that. And it's something that you saw long before I was able to. And so I think to that point, people like you who are fully aware give others like me permission to be courageous enough to enter into that space.
Heck yeah, dude.
So I appreciate that in you.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I do think there's we have to sort of take it seriously, rebelling against the programming that we've all grown up under and with. And it's not just, my parents or your parents or school or church or politics.
Yeah.
It's all of it together. And I mean, I grew up being told directly and indirectly how to be. Another cog in the wheel, another tax-paying person, and there's no freedom in that. There's no life in that.
Right.
And as I continue to find my voice to talk about that and what I think that means moving forward for us as humans, as creatives, as consciousness, having the experience. I still don't have the words to describe it all, my friend, but it seems to me that the more time that I can let my little pink, wrinkly computer up here spend exploring these ideas and concepts and owning what feels right, and then also being okay with recognizing that, I still have a lot more growth to do. There's still things that need to change, and it's really out of my power. I just have to accept, let it go, and be ready for it when it does.
That right there, that's huge. The acceptance piece. I think when we're able to do that, it makes life a lot more tolerable. And to your point, as I've grown, I've been able to accept, my parents did the very best that they could. The mentors in my life did the very best that they could. Friends did, for the most part, the very best that they could. All that said, they're flawed. And I think having acceptance in their journey, but also having acceptance in mine, has made life a lot more joyful. And that wasn't always the case for me. I wasn't always able to be a person willing to accept that, what I thought life would look like at this stage of my life isn't that. And what does it look like for me to be grateful and joyful and still appreciative and say, you know what, Lord, thank you. Even still, it's been a blessing to get to that place. And I'm just now in this season of life feeling like I'm leaning in. Yeah.
Well, and I'm only speaking for myself here, but I am a strong believer that attitude is gratitude. However, it could be any time during any given day or a couple of days in a week where I have an internal battle, whether it's about fear. Usually it's a fear or a worry. And if I focus on that, it grows, and it gets harder to let go, and it gets harder to be have gratitude around. So it's sort of like an ongoing battle in the mind, or the antenna. Because I can hang on to that and not want to let it go, whatever it is. Some anxiety, some fear about money.
Man, ooh,
some BS.
Man, let me tell you. Listen, that's real. But it's funny because one of the things that I'm learning more and more about is the things that we think we're achieving or we're winning by keeping hidden only grows. And so people like you that I appreciate is you give light to things, and by giving light to it, there's no darkness in there, and it doesn't have the opportunity to grow. If anything, by shedding light on it, by having a conversation, by being vulnerable or a willingness to be vulnerable, there's no power it can hold over you. And, for me, that wasn't something I was taught. It was always, you hold those things close to the chest. But now that I've grown, I've seen that that's something, to your point earlier, I'm having to figure out how do you control, alt, delete, and do it responsibly. And I think that the more we can do that, the more joyful we'll be. Yeah.
I like it. Good season for this talk. Okay, so we're going to wrap up because you have a place to be across the street at Cypress. Shout out Terry and Amanda for lunch.
Yes.
If you have not been to Abilene, Texas, historic downtown, we are the storybook capital of America, and there are an incredible amount of boutiques, restaurants, businesses, bars, coffee shops, you name it, onwards and upwards, and those are just the easy ones. Come on down, check it out.
Absolutely.
It's a great place. So on the city council, you guys meet every week, every month?
Yeah, we meet bi-weekly.
Okay.
But between those, we're doing a lot of education, reading up, studying, all the things, and so bi-weekly.
And is that an open meeting generally?
It is. Anybody and everybody's invited, and so we have a lot of consistent people that come every council meeting, but anybody that wants to be heard or maybe wants to bring awareness in some capacity is more than welcome to come to the council meetings at 8:30.
And then they would get an opportunity to speak in front of the council if they needed to for whatever?
Open session. You can speak on any subjects you want, or there may be something you want to specifically speak to, which is a specific item. You can speak during that as well.
And then just to continue to educate our populace. So we have your place 6. How many places do we have?
So there's 5 other council members.
6 places.
6 places, and then a mayor.
And a mayor.
Yes, sir.
And the 7 of you work together to vote on issues brought to you by both the city manager, things that are brought up by the
board and development, parks and rec, you name it. Anything fiscal related, financially over a certain threshold, we are literally setting the policies and the standard for the city. We're the elected officials to do that, and trusted by our citizens. So we're all voted in, but that's our job.
And you've been there in this position for 5 years. How long is a term?
So I'm going into an election year, so it'll be year 6 for me, and the terms are 3-year terms.
Okay, so you've already been voted in twice. You're popular. And going for a 3rd.
We're
Any
excited.
ambition for mayor or anything else politically in the city or state?
Nothing state. I can go ahead and say that. I think local is where I love to be because it's what impacts us the most anyways. And so for me, just continuing to serve, see where God takes me on the city council, and just continuing to try to do the best to serve our citizens.
I like it.
Okay,
so I don't think I can vote for you because you're not in my district, but if you're in place 6 and you like this guy, give him another vote. I guess that's coming up in May?
It's coming up in May, and anybody, actually, Trav, anyone can vote. So if you're on the north side or the south side, you can vote for us.
Okay.
Even in Wiley. So that's the beauty of it, is we represent north and south. And so I always tell people, our job is to be a voice for both sides, and that's the exciting thing about the role.
That's cool.
Shout out to Majestic.
Shout out to Majestic.
Love studying. I study here a lot, so it's a good spot.
Come on down. The internet's working again. All right, friends. Well, this is a little bit of a shorter show, but you're a very busy, important man, and you have lots of things on your agenda. So we're just grateful to get you for a little bit today.
Blast, man. Thanks for having me.
Could we have you back on again, maybe after you win?
Anytime. I would love you. Listen, to talk to Trav is a joy. So anytime you need me.
Well, thank you so much. And if you're watching at home, stay tuned. The next show coming up is The Breakdown with Ben, getting all your sports needs and desires met. And once again, we're coming to you live from the Majestic Coffee Shop, beautiful downtown historic Abilene, storybook capital of America, the Neon Parrot Live Studios. And Dr. Travis Craver, what a wonderful, great chat we had today. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate you, brother.
Give him some money.
Come on, Mentoring Alliance.
Mentoring Alliance,
there you
write
go.
a check.
Yeah.
They need it.
Yeah, we'll take it.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.
All right.